Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by my counterpart on the East Coast, Nate Weitzer. Another great article on a big fat Friday night slate for you guys up on playpicks.com from Nate. Some best bets and DFS strategy in there. As always, if you do need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find all those local listings in your area and jump into those comments. As always, like and subscribe to the page and let us know who you guys are betting on. We're about to drop a gift card prop for you this Friday. So stay tuned and make sure you're eligible for that by, as we said, liking and subscribing. Let's jump into those lines for tonight, Nate. April the 16th.
Yes, sir. We start with a 3 p.m. game out in Utah. The Pacers are plus 10 at Jazz, who apparently need to start early so they can fly out to LA for an afternoon game tomorrow. Then we have the Toilet Bowl in Detroit. The Thunder are plus 3.5 at those Pistons. We'll see if anyone loses on purpose. Clippers plus 3 at Sixers. Kawhi Leonard questionable to return. Pelicans -2 at Wizards. The Hornets are plus 12.5 with most of their team out against the Nets, who also have most of their team out. The Magic plus 2 at Raptors, also have most of their team out. Grizzlies -4 at Bulls. Nuggets -8.5 at the Rockets. The Heat are -7 at the Wolves. Blazers -2.5 at Spurs. And your Knickerbockers are plus 5.5 at Mavericks. First thing that jumped out at me, Josh, is the line and the total in that Grizzlies-Bulls game. Odds makers acting as if they didn't get the news that Zach LaVine is in COVID protocols. He's going to miss about 2 weeks, and that pretty much sinks the Bulls' season. I mean, we'll see if they come up with one last gasp to say, we can still make the playoffs without him, but I do not think they can. We've seen for the last week, they're completely dependent on the man. He dropped 50 points and they still lost in overtime against Atlanta. And this was already a bad matchup for them. We saw Memphis hold them to 90 points in a win on Monday. So I don't understand why the total opened at 225. It's being bet down right now, but should be bet down further if you guys can jump on that when this airs. LaVine's only missed one game this year. They obviously lost with a -5 net rating. You go back 3 seasons, he's missed 26 games. They've lost 17 of those. They average 102 points per game instead of 108. And this season, they're just 6-22 against winning teams regardless. They are far less reliable at home for some reason, 11-16 against the spread. And so they're going to have to turn to Vucevic, right, to try to carry this offense. He averages just 17 points per game in 20-plus meetings with Jonas Valanciunas, who is a big dude, as we all know, obviously gives him a little bit of problems. And the Bulls just don't have much else around him. Kobe White and Lauri Markkanen, neither of those guys are healthy enough to step into what Zach LaVine does. I mean, he's a top 3 fourth-quarter scorer in the league. You can't underestimate that. And then Memphis, the second best team against the spread in the league, someone you want to back, especially against the East. They're 16-7 against that spread, and they dominate in the paint. Second straight year, Bulls give up the second most paint points at home. What's not to like about this matchup? I've already parlayed Memphis money line and the under to get me about plus 200 on my money.
Love that. Yeah, love the under with Zach LaVine not playing. Not sure if Vegas didn't get that info, like you said. These teams faced each other a couple games ago, and it was a 11-point win for the Grizz. As you mentioned, Valanciunas owned Vooch in that game, had a nice fat double-double, about 17-16. And LaVine was the leading scorer in a game that they still couldn't pull it out or get more than 90 points. So I'm not really sure where that offense is going to come from tonight, as you mentioned. Really love that game. I'm following you there all the way. And then I'm going to switch over to another game I actually feel pretty comfortable about as well, to be honest, with the Sixers and the Clippers, Nate. We're looking at, right now, Tobias is a game-time decision for Philly. And then as far as the Clippers, Kawhi is a game-time decision, likely to return, but no Ibaka and no Pat Bev once again. At the end of the day, this game is going to come down to me, to what Embiid is able to do and how he's able to own the paint everywhere, around 15 feet even around the basket. In the last 8 games for for Philly, of which Embiid missed a couple. They have had the best defensive rating, and their offensive rating dropped mightily. But since they've had Embiid back, the last 4 games, they've had an offensive rating of 118 or so. And that's all been against really good defenses, actually, in Boston, OKC, Dallas, all playing really well. And then, Embiid against the Clippers is just an exploitable matchup. He's got 35 plus. He's got 31 and a half points or so a game against them in his last 5 meetings with the Clippers. Almost 15 boards as well in that time span. And when he plays against winning teams, we see a little bit of a give a shit factor from this Philly team, especially at home. Against winning teams specifically this season, Embiid goes off. He's got 35 plus in 4 of his last 5 meetings with those teams. And then, as we mentioned, at home, a ridiculous 50-7 overall since last season, 21-5. That's straight up this season, and 33-9 when they're a favorite. They've struggled here and there against Western Conference teams this season. They're only 13-10, but that's still above 500. And I'm not really sure what I'm going to get too much from the Clippers, but I know what I'm going to get from Embiid and Philly lately. So a nice small spread, about 2.5 points. And as I mentioned, Embiid with a big game, that is going to be our gift card prop tonight, Nate. So let us know what you think his points, rebounds, and assists combined will be tonight against the Clippers. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to the page to be eligible, and jump in the comments with that total for us. I'm going to be betting on that regardless, since I'm not eligible for that gift card, Nate. But what are you looking at in that game?
Yeah, I mean, I feel very confident about the Sixers at home. I feel even better lately. Ben Simmons, I don't think he knew what he did when he had that interview talking about the Nets a little bit. I mean, it wasn't anything incendiary, but in today's sports world, when you say things like, they got to play defense too, and we can win the chip, it puts a little bit of a target on your back when you're the number 1 seed, and they've responded so far. They kicked the crap out of the Nets, and they've really performed well against winning teams with Embiid active, as you mentioned. I'm waiting to see what the player performance doubles are going to be for Embiid. I think we have to see if Harris plays or not before they release that. But usually you can get good plus money on a double-double for him, which is a lock, maybe 30-plus points in a win. I mean, the guy is just such a problem because of his ability to get to the free throw line. He's got the flopping power of Neymar and the size of Wilt Chamberlain. He's actually on pace to break Wilt's record, I think, or at least, approach that historic mark in terms of free throw attempts. And he shoots like 80% at the line. He gets Zubac into foul trouble tonight, and the Clippers are just absolutely sunk. And if you take this line right now and Kawhi doesn't play, I think they're sunk regardless. So I love that play. Great call. I'm looking at the Spurs and Blazers as another confident play tonight. The Spurs still have a reputation as a reliable team when it comes to facing bad teams, right? But look at their game log, man. They have 1 win over a team in playoff position since January 29th. 1 win over a Western Conference playoff team. And now they're playing the Blazers, who are at least capable against bad teams. 22-9 as a favorite, 20-7 against losing teams. Yes, they've lost 5 of the last 7, all of those to winning teams. And they match up well against the Spurs, who in their last 15 are 26th in defensive rating, 27th in three-point defense, 27th in rebound rate. And they allow the second highest three-point percentage at home. As we know, only Utah scores a higher percentage of their points off threes than Portland, like Dame Lillard, despite his little leg injury, to go off and carry them to a win, which they need so bad.
Yeah, they do. And I'm going to follow you there too. I haven't had much luck betting against the Spurs this season, but I do think that we're in that bottom. It's a little bit later in the season. Right now, we might be around starting playoff time if it wasn't a sort of wonky season. But at any rate, there's only a few games left, and I think we are seeing some teams really just show what they are now, and I think that's what we can depend on with the Spurs. A couple other teams, Nate, that are playing pretty well right now in the Mavs, and as you mentioned, my Knicks. I'm gonna eye the total there. It's pretty low right now at about 210. I understand that these teams like the unders recently. Dallas has been going back and forth, and Knicks have had a couple overs as well. But most importantly, I do like what I'm seeing on offense, mostly from the Mavs, as they've only improved honestly over the course of the season on offense, getting back much closer to what they were last year and one of the top offensive rating teams in the league. You look at Doncic's shooting; it has improved dramatically. I mean, it's the splits between months: 9.5% from three in December, up to 33% in January. In February, a scorching hot 44%, and in March he's back to about 40%. So I think we're seeing Luka back to what he is on offense. And since March, he's averaged about 120 points per 100 shots. That's ridiculous, tops in the league. And Kristaps has also improved his offense a ton, 21 points in 5 straight for him. They've actually adjusted his rest a bunch. So you're seeing him come out and score a bunch early and then sit a bunch in the second quarter, which has worked out for him. And then as far as the Knicks, once again, RJ Barrett continues to be on a tear, averaging about 18 and 5 on 42% from three since January. And then you got Julius Randle coming off back-to-back 30-point games after, a slow sort of March for him as well in February. So I think that there's something to like with, Nerlens Noel is questionable. Mitchell Robinson's still out. Dallas, can score in the paint with the Knicks going to be a little bit light down low compared to what they normally are. Not sure what Taj Gibson's going to bring there. So I think you can get over 210. I might play this up to about 214, to be honest with you, and go from there. But I'm not opposed to a little tease with that as well. Maybe even tease them with Philly, who I feel super confident about, get a few more points in each game.
So you like Dallas to cover a small spread?
I'm not even touching the spread. I'm honestly just going with that total. I like the Knicks at home, so I'm not feeling too good about it, but I think the Knicks can score at home as well. So
yeah, that's my feeling right there. The Knicks have made me look silly on this very podcast a few times in a row. I would be terrified to bet against them. I still owe you a $5 on that side bet against the Pelicans. So. But the one thing I would look at here is the Kristaps Porzingis revenge factor. Of course, I'm interested in that. You said 21 plus points. You said rest. If he's ready, he's going to bring it against these Knicks, who will stick a forearm in your ribs and prevent you from getting inside. But that's not what Porzingis wants to do anyway. He's 7'3", standing with 7'8" shooting span, so he's just going to pop right over them and I think get over his 20 points prop there. And speaking of that, from a DFS perspective, Porzingis a pretty good play. Obviously, if you can pay up for Zion and Embiid tonight, they have juicy matchups. That Nets-Hornets game is just completely depleted in terms of stars. The Hornets are going to be without Malik Monk, Gordon Hayward, LaMelo Ball, Devontae Graham. Terry Rozier, how's your arm feeling? You want to hoist 30 times tonight? Go ahead. Bruce Brown stepping in with no James Harden on that side. And for more value, I'm looking in Florida. I mentioned the Raptors are sitting their whole team. No Lowry, Siakam, OG Anunoby. So Malachi Flynn, Chris Boucher, Fred VanVleet returns tonight. He's a bit of a question mark. I would only use him in tournaments. And Ken Birch is really cheap. He goes against his former team. He's now with the Raptors. I don't know who you're going to get for value with the Magic, honestly. I mean, go ahead and roll out Cole Anthony, James Ennis if you want, but I would be targeting Raptors guys there with them shorthanded.
And one thing that we were mentioning earlier is that Jonas V game, Memphis, Chicago. I think he'll be able to continue to put up doubles there against Vucevic, who he's owned. So I'm going to pay up for him as my big man tonight. That is all the time we have. Quick reminder of that Joel Embiid prop. Make sure you're liked and subscribed to the page to be eligible to jump in the comments and give us Embiid's total points, rebounds, and assists tonight. We'll get the gift card out to whoever and however many winners get that correct. We'll be watching some games with you over the weekend and back with another great show on Monday. And as for tonight, happy betting.